Today's story comes out of Las Vegas, where a man lost his life, 2 teens took his life, and the mainstream media experienced a fiery backlash from a web of misinformation and misunderstandings on social media, and Elon Musk himself got involved. So if you want to see how this all fits in together, stick around and we're going to get into it. So recently on social media, a clip started going viral around September 15th. Let's take a look at that clip.
All right, go. Go. Keep it moving. Stop talking shit, bitch! Stop talking shit! Nigga! Fuck wrong with blood? Ready? Yeah. Hit his ass.
Now, obviously, the clip is longer than that. I'm not playing the entire video because the video is not safe for YouTube, because they end up hitting the man and the man dies. Now, the man who was hit was 64-year-old Andreas Probst. He was a 64-year-old retired police chief from California. He moved to the Vegas area when he retired in 2009. He had a 35-year career in law enforcement, and he had reportedly taken up cycling as a way to stay in shape. Now, after seeing the video, you can understand why it went viral: the complete disregard for human life, the seemingly senseless ramming your car into another car, and then into a person. It just seems so senseless. So this video began making the rounds, and then people started wondering, well, how's the media talking about this? Because as we know, national mainstream media will often cover local cases if the narrative is right. If you have a case of seemingly white assailants attacking a black suspect, that often tends to make national news. But when the roles are reversed, you often don't tend to see that same type of coverage. So then this particular headline from the Las Vegas Review-Journal started to go viral, and this particular screenshot, as you can see here in this post from Elijah Schaefer, police officer was murdered by animals in cold blood who intentionally homicided him. And this is how the mainstream media told the story. Disgusting. We don't have to live like this. There are solutions. Here you could see Libby Emmons, the editor-in-chief at the Post Millennial, posting, "Just seeing this, how vile." And then, of course, the big dog himself, Elon Musk, posting, "An innocent man was murdered in cold blood while riding his bicycle. The killers joked about it on social media. Yet where is the media outrage? Now you begin to understand the lie." So this looks terrible. The media calling it a bike crash when what we clearly saw on video was straight up murder. People were asking themselves, how could the media be so callous? How could the media treat something as clear as this obvious murder caught on video where the suspects are laughing? They literally say, yo, hit him, run him over, whatever they said in that video. I believe it was something like get his ass. How could a local outlet, no less, remember this is the Las Vegas Review-Journal, how could they write a headline like this when we saw what we clearly saw? Now, I'll give you the answer to that in a bit, but let me just say, when I saw this screenshot, I thought, there's no way. This doesn't sound right. This doesn't pass the sniff test. I saw the video, it was very clear what it was, but why would a local outlet write something this way? So this immediately set alarm bells in my mind, and I also noticed the screenshots people were posting had no date in the screenshot. So I decided to look up the article. Now the headline has changed since all of this backlash, but using a cached version of the site, we can see this. This version was captured on the 15th of September, 2023. And we see that headline, "Retired police chief killed in bike crash, remembered for laugh, love of coffee." And we scroll down and look at that. We see that this was published on August 18th. 2023 by Sabrina Schnur. And it says this happened on Monday morning, so that would make it August 14th when this occurred. And we see here a 2016 Hyundai Elantra, which the Metropolitan Police Department said was being driven by a minor, was speeding when it hit the back of the bike and drove off. The driver left the scene but was arrested nearby. And then we see this. Now, the Probst family is wondering how many more reckless drivers and fatal crashes will happen on Las Vegas roads before there are stricter penalties. Quote, "There's no ramifications," Crystal Probst said. "It's not getting better. we as a community are paying for this through our insurance rates going up. So I thought, that's odd. Why are they talking about insurance rates going up and reckless driving when we have clear intent in this video? I mean, this was clearly a murder. This wasn't a case of reckless driving or anything, even though they were driving very erratically. But I mean, it was very intentional. You really wouldn't talk about insurance rates when murder is involved. So that's when I kept digging and I discovered they didn't know that this was an intentional murder at the time. They didn't know that video existed at the time. And less than 2 weeks later, we had this article from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Retired police chief's death a homicide after video emerges, police say. The Metropolitan Police Department arrested the 17-year-old driver of the Hyundai who fled the scene of the crash on suspicion of hit and run. On Tuesday, detectives found a video of the crash posted on social media that they used to determine that the crash was intentional, according to a department statement. The boy's charges will be updated to include open murder, police said. Now again, this article is August 31st. Everybody started seeing this video on social media right around September 15th. Which is over 2 weeks after this article came out. But instead of posting this updated article, they decided to go to the first article, which was acting as an effective obituary for the man, and decided that this was a grand conspiracy of the media deciding to minimize this man's death. Now, to my knowledge, I was the first one to really post about this on social media and include screenshots and all that stuff and reply to people. Now in this tweet, you can see at the bottom, it says this post was deleted by the post author. This was a tweet that was put out by Phil Labonte, Phil That Remains, because he had posted that same screenshot that everybody else was posting. And I said, I looked up the article. It's from mid-August, before they knew it was a murder. Check the article that ran 2 weeks after this one, where they discovered it was a murder, because they also found the video that we're all seeing now a month later. Yeah, the media lies a lot of times and has an agenda, but what's being presented here by some is not an example of it. An example of it, however, is that we know it would be national news for weeks if the races were swapped. And I want to applaud Phil here, because as soon as he saw this, almost immediately, he took his post down. So I said, awesome, Phil That Remains corrected the record immediately. Hopefully Elijah Schaefer does the same. We all make honest mistakes. Situation as infuriating as this does not need this type of incorrect info. And I also dropped this below Libby Emmons' post, where I said, not exactly, and quote tweeted my tweet. And I did the same for Elon, where I said, Elon, this isn't exactly accurate. And from what I've seen, Elon made this post after Libby Emmons had her post community noted, where it says, this screenshot is from an article that was published on August 18th, 2023. An article published on August 31st clarified that the driver intentionally hit the cyclist based on video, which was only obtained on August 29th. Now, while some listened and took down the posts or clarified, most did not. So a couple days later, Mediaite decides to put out this article. Newspaper editor slams Elon Musk for fueling fire hose of hatred and death threats directed at its journalists. So Glenn Cook, the executive director of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, said in an op-ed, quote, I've never seen more dehumanizing vitriol and hostility directed at journalists at any time in my career, Cook wrote, adding, and that was before this weekend. And you can see they highlight Elon Musk's tweet over here. They talked about the community notes, fact-checking the claim, but here's where it gets very interesting. Furthermore, the journalist who wrote the initial obituary, that's the August 18th article that everybody was screenshotting, Sabrina Schnur, was the one who directed the owner of the video, who reached out to her, showing the killing of the cyclist was intentional, to go to police. After the police reviewed the video and declared Probst's death a homicide, the Review-Journal was one of the first publications to cover the story. Since then, a 17-year-old has been arrested and charged with Probst's murder. Cook explains how these tragic events eventually became fodder to attack his paper. In this article from Pointer, we can see, in an attempt to slow the harassment, editors changed the August 18th obituary's headline, which Schnur did not write, so that it read, hit and run, instead of bike crash. So let's get this straight. The woman who wrote the story that everybody was screenshotting and criticizing was actually the woman who helped get that footage to police so that they could charge these assailants with murder. So because she did that initial story, someone reached out who had the video footage, she guided them, connected them with police, And because police got that video footage, they could now charge these people with murder. So this journalist, who received tons of death threats, as you can see here, they filled her inbox and social media mentions with increasingly personal attacks and accused her of being anti-white. They shared her photo and made anti-Semitic comments. They circulated her office phone number and told her that they hoped she would get cancer, that they hoped she would die. They found her private social media accounts and dug through her Twitter, unearthing posts she'd made as a teenager going back as far as 2015. And all this for someone who was the first on the scene initially after this crash happened to cover a man's death, to give his family an obituary, who helped gather evidence to give to police, which led to charges of murder for the assailants. And listen, I understand the impulse from people. I understand it completely. In fact, here you can see a post from Wanda Hudson who says, "The media seems to underreport wrong to white males. They seem more likely to express outrage if a marginalized group is targeted. I don't think it's my imagination." Elon replies saying, 1,000%. And I replied, "It's true. I made a video about it, and Washington Free Beacon did an analysis where they analyzed over 1,100 articles about homicides from 6 major papers between 2019 and 2021, and here's what they found." And if you guys want to see the video I did about that subject, I'll put it up here, wherever that goes. I forget where it goes, but you'll see the thing pop up. I did an in-depth breakdown about the data, but real quickly we can see, based on the Washington Free Beacon's analysis, this first graph shows how far into the article do papers mention a murderer's race. When the murderer's race is black, it's way deeper into the article. And if the murderer's race is white, it's way more likely to be right at the beginning of an article. When we check how often did newspapers mention a murderer's race, 23% of articles mentioned the offender's race if they were white, only 6% if they were black, only 3% if they were Hispanic. So there's clearly a bias there. And here we look at the difference before and after George Floyd's murder. We can see if papers changed the way they mentioned race or when they mentioned race. Before Floyd's death, articles mentioned race more if they were black compared to after, whereas for whites, mention of race actually increased after Floyd's death. So that's some pretty damning data when it comes to this sort of stuff. So I completely understand people's tendency to think, hey, there's an agenda at play, because there is, but that doesn't mean it's always in play. That doesn't mean everything is always a conspiracy against, whoever is involved here. Now let's get to the alleged murderers in this case, because only recently did we learn who these teens were. And when those names were published, some people had, interesting takes. As you can see here from alleged suspected black supremacist Tariq Nasheed, after a week of white supremacists online falsely claiming these suspects were black, Vegas police released their names, and like we said, the suspects are 2 white Hispanics. And he links an article with the names of the suspects, which are Jesus Ayala, who was 17 at the time, and Jizamir Keys, who was 16. Now, I'm no expert on names. Jesus, that sounds pretty Hispanic to me. Ayala, that sounds pretty Hispanic to me. But Jizamir Keys, that does not sound very Hispanic to me. So when I saw him say that, some alarm bells started going off, especially because I heard the way the dude filming was talking. And as you can see, he got community noted here at the bottom, where it says, Jesus Ayala and Jizamir Keys have been charged as adults and their photos have been released. Neither of them fit the incorrect description the OP is claiming. That's because this is Jesus Ayala. Hispanic, yes. Would we call him a white Hispanic? I don't know about that. And this is Jizamir Keys. Not looking very Hispanic to me, though I guess you could maybe claim he's potentially Afro-Latino, but gonna press X for doubt on that one. In fact, I'd venture to say if Mr. Nasheed had a son, he might look like Jizamir Keys. But take a look at these guys, because when they were arrested, apparently Jesus Ayala expected a slap on the wrist for hitting and killing cyclist, quote, "I'll be out in 30 days, I'll bet you." Jesus Ayala, 17 at the time, appeared to show no remorse while being taken into custody. Ayala, now 18, faces 18 counts, including murder, and has a lengthy criminal history in the juvenile system. Ayala made comments to police after he was taken into custody, quote, "You think this juvenile bleep is gonna do some bleep? I'll be out in 30 days, I'll bet you. It's just bleep, hit and run, slap on the wrist." And of course, like any genius with a face tattoo like that, this guy could not help himself by self-snitching. Officers had not yet mentioned a hit and run to Ayala at that point in their conversation with him. They said he was being booked for a warrant and obstructing a peace officer. Ayala's comments were caught on a police body camera. Yeah, this genius wasn't even being booked for what he was bragging about being booked for to the police. So this guy was snitching on himself from the very moment he got arrested. This is in addition to video recording their crimes for all to see. And just in case you think bumping into that car and killing that cyclist is all these teens did, we can see this. Las Vegas teens accused of killing bicyclists crashed stolen cars, attempted second murder in 2-hour crime spree. So we can see that the car that they used to kill Probst was a stolen car, of course, and they ditched it less than 10 minutes from the crash site. About a half hour before they killed Probst, the teenagers allegedly attempted to hit another bike in the area. That individual was 72 years old, and luckily he survived. In the hours after Probst's death, the teenagers allegedly stole 2 more cars in the area of Lake Mead Boulevard and Torrey Pines Drive. About an hour after hitting and killing Probst, the teenagers took the 2 stolen cars and crashed them into each other near a shopping plaza at Lake Mead and Rainbow Boulevards. The teenagers then allegedly broke into a garage where they took several items and returned to the area where Probst was hit and killed in one of the 2 crashed stolen cars. Officers managed to take Ayala into custody, but Keys ran off. So these aren't some desperate teenagers who are just looking for some food or some bread like AOC used to talk about, which is why would criminals do this if they didn't have to, right? No, there are some sick and deranged people out there that have no regard for human life. These teens stole a car, wrecked it, ditched it, stole 2 more cars, crashed them into each other because I guess that's a fun thing to do. Crashed into other cars, allegedly tried to kill another person on a bike who was 72 years old, broke into a garage and stole stuff. These are not the actions of someone who's just doing it for the money, just to survive, whatever. These are the types of people that I believe Hillary Clinton correctly called super predators back in the day. And you gotta wonder, who's raising these guys? What kind of home do you come out of to end up like this? Well, while we don't have all the answers on that front, we have this. Mothers of Las Vegas teens accused of intentionally hitting cyclists speak out. 1 teen faces 18 charges. You can see here, 8 News Now reached out to Ayala's mother by phone, quote, "I don't know why he did this," she said. "I don't know if God can forgive this." So at least there it seems like Jesus Ayala's mother is pretty honest about the situation. She's not making excuses for now. But wait till you see what Jizamir Keys' mom has to say. Keys was taken into custody on Tuesday, September 19th. The 8 News Now investigators reached out to his mother by phone. She initially hung up and then responded to a text message stating her family was not making any statements or addressing any accusations without their legal team. Quote, "My son's side of the story will be told, the truth, not the inaccuracies the media will try to portray," the text read. Wow. I mean, I would love to know what she thinks the truth will reveal to all of us. I am dying to see what the truth is, according to her. But I don't know, something tells me, I just got a hunch, I just got a little feeling that this is not the greatest, most upstanding woman to have ever raised a child. Because as we can see here, as for Jizamir Keys, the accused passenger, the 8 News Now investigators have learned he was in the child welfare system at 8 years old. His mother was charged with 5 counts of child abuse in 2016, according to court documents. Police said they found her 5 children, ages 2 to 9 years old, home alone without access to food, a knife left on a kitchen counter, and the house in poor condition. Neighbors reported witnessing the children left alone for extended periods of time. The mother said she could not find childcare while she worked. She pleaded guilty to gross misdemeanor child abuse. She later withdrew her plea after she successfully completed terms of probation and received a conviction for misdemeanor disorderly conduct. So yeah, making excuses for an alleged murder, having child abuse convictions herself. It seems like the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Now, ultimately, they are being charged with murder, among other counts, and of course, they can't be charged with the death penalty because they were under 18 at the time. But they will be charged as adults, and they're looking at anywhere from 20 years to life in prison. And hopefully, if justice prevails, they're gonna get a long, long time behind bars. And I wanna end this video by issuing my condolences to the Probst family. It's a tragic loss, but hopefully with episodes like this, we can raise awareness around criminal justice and hopefully get more people on board to have harsher penalties, better enforcement, better prosecution, so we can stop more things from this happening in the future. So what do you guys think? Did you enjoy this video? Did you agree with my takes? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to hit the like button on this video. It really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. And that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Social media links are in the description box below, as well as merch. Support us at nuancebro.com/join, and I'll see you next time, bro.